Welcome back to another episode of Terrestrial Nomad, the podcast. It's been about an hour and a half since we last talked.
But you wouldn't know that.
Yeah, you wouldn't know that. We hiked a shit ton of miles.
What was that, 35, 36?
Yeah, we just crushed like 30 miles in that last hour and a half. We're at a water crossing here with a broken bridge. Shirts off, shoes off, socks off, getting some sun.
Quite the contrast from where we were at like an hour.
Yeah, we were literally freezing cold wearing all our layers. Lasers? What? Yes. Wear all your lasers.
It's the only way to survive.
Yeah, freezing, and now we're
lasers, Scott.
Sweating. I think I'm gonna get in the water just to do it. Full dunk, hair and everything.
Really?
Yeah. Today we're gonna be talking about Shepard getting off the trail. Last year.
Yeah, not this.
Well, that'll be a future recording. But for now, we're going to talk about 2014 Shepard's getting off trail because we're at the... Are we at the spot?
Well, the trail junction that I turned off of is up from here. So
How far?
I don't know, half mile.
Okay,
So
cool.
probably about as close as we're going to get.
He's going to talk
Listen to the
about...
story. Well, you'll hear about it.
Okay, Shepard is hitting the pipe. Okay.
Smoking some cracks.
Smoking it. Tell me how it feels.
I just made a crack juice.
Crack juice?
Crack juice?
Tribal.
Emergency with
Whoa.
Some
green tea with pomegranate
So-
and
see, last year. Where'd it begin?
that ginseng.
So coming in, I'm gonna go ahead and paint a little background story, I guess, for you guys. So last year, coming into was at Stevens Pass from Snoqualmie, I was hiking with my friend Karma, and we had 4 days of non-stop rain. It didn't let up ever. It sucked terribly, and so we got up and started hiking at noon one day and decided we were going to hike all the way to Stevens Pass, which was 38 miles. And we got there at 7 o'clock in the morning. We were super beat, but we came up and over the ski resort there where the lifts are at and everything. And the storm had cleared out at that point in the middle of the night. And so it was a beautiful sunrise up at the top there. It came down into town early in the morning, but we were, super burnt from basically doing a 24-hour hike.
Oh, yeah.
And went to the Dinsmores and dried all of our stuff out there. And it was on a Saturday. And then Sunday afternoon we left and hiked out for a few miles, and it was good. And then Monday it started raining again. And so it rained all of Monday. It rained Tuesday. And then we took a zero on Tuesday, I think, because it was raining so bad. And then hiked out another day in the rain, which then turned to snow, and then it cleared up. So now we're at this day, and the day that it clears up, we're all drying stuff off where we were at yesterday playing Frisbee.
Right.
And so...
What's that called? Red Pass?
I guess, maybe.
Yeah, that saddle is probably Red Pass.
So we dry everything off there, and I kind of rolled my ankle playing Frisbee there, and I also had a little onset of a Achilles tendonitis thing going on, and so I wasn't feeling too good. I was moving real slow.
Wait, last year you rolled your ankle in that spot?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you all of a sudden skipped ahead a year.
No.
Okay, keep going.
So we leave that spot, and Karma, he takes off, and he's fine. He's doing what we were normally doing, 3.5 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And at that point, that was not within my range at all. And so I made it down to basically that one of those water crossings that had kind of a small campsite next to it on the way down. And I stopped there, ate lunch, so it was only 2 miles. And then was that
you might want to trek.
And then from there, after taking a lunch break, like I knew I was like way behind Karma. I wasn't going to be able to really catch him with the way I was moving. And so kind of took my time, worked my way down to just like 2 miles back from where we're at now. And I saw a sign that said White Chuck River Road or White Chuck Road.
Right.
So then it got me thinking, and at this point, it backdate a little bit too. Because we had taken the zero and I hadn't planned for it, I was lower on food than anticipated, and then I was now moving much slower than I had planned. And I had hiker box fuel, but the fuel was like, I could tell it was running out, and it was not nearly what I thought it was leaving town. And there were like nobody else around us for a while. So we were kind of like in a spot by ourselves, similar to how we are now. And so I get to the road, I got all that going on in my mind, I'm not feeling good.
Wait, did that junction lead to the road?
Oh, is the bolt on?
Yeah, it's empty. That junction, there's a trail there that at one time, yes, did go out towards the road.
Oh, okay.
But I had gotten to that point, and I was, I had all these things and thoughts and feelings, emotions, whatever going through my head. And so I looked at my maps and looked at the trail going out towards that road, and it looked to be about like 6 miles to get to a campground that was at the end of that road where the trailhead from the roadside starts. And I was like, 6 miles, man, that's super doable, And then that road led out towards some town like Darrington or something like that. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to grab a couple extra days of food and some fuel, resupply basically. And then I'll figure out how and where, wherever I'm getting on. And so I start to walk down that road or that trail. And just like 20 yards down, there was this little yellow tag from like National Forest Service that said this trail has been abandoned. Use this trail for Kennedy Hot Springs coming up after the Pumice Creek crossing, which is where we're at right now. And I was like, all right, cool. So I'll just take that trail instead. It means I got to hike the PCT a little bit farther. It was late in the day, and so I yo-yoed back like a couple tenths of a mile to a campsite and decided that I was just going to stay there and hit it in the morning. So in the morning I get up and I walk through to where we're at now and then up to the trail junction. And I get to the trail junction and take off towards Kennedy Hot Springs, which is not there anymore. And I go down this trail and I get like 3 miles down and I come upon the White Chuck River, which is much bigger version of this going on with all the silty water, and like the erosion along this line right here. And the trail was starting to parallel that. But what happens is the trail ran out, like how this is all blown out on the side of the mountain here, basically was one of those deals, and it just went straight down for like 1,000 feet. Yeah. And you could see the trail on the other side, like where it picked up again.
There's no way to
and I'm like, shit, this is not good, And so I have that DeLorme inReach, and I can do like two-way like text messaging with it. And so I text my dad and was like, hey, I'm taking this side trail, like, huh?
Smoke all the weed?
That's one hit, sorry.
Get high.
Sorry.
So I get to, I'm messaging with my dad, telling him like basically what's going on, and he gets on the internet and looks up information about this trail and pulls up some like blog or something, I don't know, and it was discussing how this trail was washed out, and I think it was 2009. There was a big landslide that came through that whole area and wiped out not only that trail that I was on, but all the other trails, all the campgrounds, the entire fucking road, like everything. It was like this huge deal.
What year?
I think it was 2009.
Dude, they should put up some signs about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I know.
That's because I thought you were going to say like the year before.
No, this was a while ago, but not like 30 years ago or something, you know?
Wow.
And so he pulls up that information, but he tells me that there's a route that's marked with pink ribbons, and that I should follow the route that should lead me as a detour around the washout section and back down to the trail. And so I was like, all right, cool, I'll do that. But it sounded like the road may be closed, and so I may have to road walk like 20 miles or something on a dirt road. But at that point, it was closer than trying to hike farther. You know, it was 26 miles versus 55 or whatever in either direction.
Yeah.
And so I was cool with that. And so I find these pink ribbons, and I start taking off following these pink ribbons. And it's a total, like, you're cross-country blazing along a hillside, and I was grabbing like one tree limb, and I would swing to the other one to grab it so that I could stay like on my feet.
Tarzan.
Yeah, totally. To be able to traverse this area, but every time I'd get to a pink ribbon, I would see the next pink ribbon from there. And so, but you can only see one at a time. And so I'm following them, and I'm moving slow because of this. And so it gets to be like the end of the day, and it's getting dark, and I come up to this creek crossing, and so I camped there for the night. And I forgot to say, the night before I ran out of fuel. Actually, I was cooking dinner like the night before and ran out of fuel, and I was like, "Yep, this is what I need to do. Like I'm supposed to get off trail here, you know." And so I'm out of fuel, so I'm like, I had a couple Cliff Bars and a couple Snickers. I don't think I had anything else really. Like, I mean, some cook items maybe. So, you know, like rationing food and stuff, but I was at a water source, but it was like one of the most janky places I've ever camped. And, like top 5 for sure. And so I camped there. I get up in the morning, and I could see pink ribbons again, so I start following them, and it's, you know, super shitty area that I'm in. And all of a sudden, like, I'm going over these log crossings along the steep hillside, and I come over this one log, and I see trail. And I'm ecstatic at this point, because I'm like, I got less than 3 miles, I'm on trail now, like, I'm going to be there in less than an hour, like, maybe somebody's there, like, be out of this shit, like, super stoked.
Where does that
and I was
trail
packing,
lead?
I packed like 3 liters of water, too, for that 3-mile section, because I knew how, like, crazy it was going.
Where does that trail lead?
The trail leads to a campground. It was called like Old Owl Campground or something like that. White Owl Campground or something. And then that road, it's like White Chuck River Road or something. And that leads to this loop that goes around a couple towns on the northwest side of Washington, basically, like Darrington and some other places. And so I'm stoked. I'm on trail. And as soon as I'm on trail, the trail runs out. Like, it's nowhere. Like, it was like, you know, a big blowdown, go over the blowdown, and then the trail was just gone. And now I'm in, like, this area that, like, if you imagine where we just walked through, like, in that huge forested tree canopy, but there's no trail there at all, how disorienting that is. And you have limited sense of direction. Like, you wouldn't be able to find a trail if there was one that existed. If, like, you woke up and you were like 200 yards off from the trail and you had never been there before, like,
is this still the alternate trail?
yes,
It's just, it got washed out.
yeah.
It was fun.
And so I'm looking on my GPS maps, and they're showing me like how far away from this trail I supposedly am, and I'm zigzagging back and forth trying to like intersect it somehow. I'm not getting anything. And so I'm looking at the topo lines on my map, and I can point out, you know, the ridge lines and where they lead to. And this ridge line, if I followed it, I should be able to follow it to the campground. And so I'm like, all right, as long as I just stay on one side of this bridge, like, I know I'm going in that direction. So I was using the river down the steep cliff on my left as like basically my big navigational aid. Mm-hmm. And so I keep going down, and like, I'm trying to make my own route. There's blow down trees and all kinds of crazy shit just everywhere. It's a nightmare. And eventually I get to this point, and the cliff runs out like all around me, or it cliffs out like all around me. It's just a shelf. It's just washed out, dropped off, and there's like water to the right of me and there's water to the left of me, both like down like 1,000 feet straight. And so there's no way to access it. And at this point, like I have no confidence in my ability to try and like navigate back to the one water source that was in the middle of fucking nowhere, you know? Yeah. And I checked and I packed out 3 liters, and if you're a long distance hiker, 3 liters is a lot of water. Like, and I didn't even make it 3 miles, you know? And I was down to half a liter, and I wasn't cooking or anything, you know? It was real strenuous. And so I get to that point, and like there's nowhere to go, you know? And I'm kind of like talking with my dad, texting him through the DeLorme, like, you know, what my situation is and what's going on. You know, he's like, I've been talking to rangers, like, you know, about this area, like, you're in a fucked situation, basically. Like, you know, the only thing you can do is try and cross country back to the PCT or try and find your way back there somehow, you know. In which case, yeah, I'm still out of fuel, I'm still out of food, like, I got enough, you know. Maybe I get lucky and run into a group that has a bunch of extra food or something and fuel, but we hadn't been seeing anyone, you know, so that wasn't like something to rely on either because we were so late in season. And so at that point, like I knew I was essentially, you know, lost and like helpless, you know, and so it was like one of the most challenging things to admit that I no longer had like total control over my situation and where I was at, what I was doing, you know, and that I couldn't like walk or work my way out of it, kind of a thing. Yeah. And like I was staring at the DeLorme, and this DeLorme, it's got a lock button on it, and when you unlock it, that's when it opens up like the ability to use the SOS capabilities of it. You know, it's like a safety feature, so you don't accidentally set it off, kind of thing. And it's like you gotta really like put some effort to slide it, like to unlock, you know. And I'm sitting there and I'm staring at it, and I'm like, shit, man, like, is this really what it's coming down to right now, you know?
I've never heard this story.
Am I that guy, you know, that everybody like laughs about or whatever, you know? And it's like, you know, I didn't feel like I'd done anything really wrong or stupid. I mean, I'm maybe like not the best of judgment decisions, you know, maybe just pressing on the PCT was the thing to do, but 55 miles on a pretty sore ankle and not much food or fuel or anything, you know, it's like, that didn't sound very promising when there was the option of like potentially a 6-mile walk to get out of it.
Well, at least for the guy that they found a year later.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
So I slid the button over. Stared at it some more and was like really trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I was like, dude, you have to do this. You know, like, and I was worried about the costs and everything too. I was like, fuck, man, I'm broke. Like, I don't know how I'm going to pay, you know, but like, these are the, you know, stupid things that are going on in my mind at the time too. I was just like I felt just so stupid for like having led myself into this situation of following the rabbit down the hole, you know? And so I pushed the button, and then the thing just fucking goes off, dude. Like, sirens and alarms and shit going off, like, confirmation on there, is this a real emergency and shit? And I'm like, freaking out, dude. It was like,
holy shit.
It was so insane, because I'd never seen it go off. Like, there was no reason
like,
to.
From the DeLorme itself?
Yeah, the DeLorme has like an alarm thing that goes off, like, in case it's not an emergency,
and
like
just chilling in someone's pack.
Yeah, and so I like confirmed that it was an emergency, and then I get a message from this international response search and rescue communications center thing or whatever, and they're like, "What's going on?" You know, I just told them my situation. I'm like, "Hey, you know, lost."
Texting?
Yeah, with the DeLorme.
Okay. I thought maybe they were like talking to you, but I meant.
No, just texting. And the DeLorme was running dead at this point too, like on battery, and so I was telling them that, told them my situation, and they messaged me back, and they're like, "Are you gonna be okay like through the night?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like the weather was it was like doing that, starting to do the baby rain thing, and then like kind of clear out. And I mean, I had to cowboy camp. I was on this ridge in a spot. Like I set like one or two little things to the side of me, and like my empty fuel can was like out of my pack because I was unloading stuff, and I just barely turned, and it just went flying off this cliff, dude. Like it was super sketchy, but I was like wedged in these trees and moss that like kept me in place and insulated. I couldn't set up my air pad there. Like there's no way. I just slept on moss as an insulator, and so they're like, yeah, if you can make it through the night, like we're gonna send a helicopter out tomorrow morning from Snohomish County Search and Rescue, Sheriff's Department or whatever. It's like, yeah, like totally. I was like, well, tell them that there is no landing zone, like, because I'm a helicopter pilot too, for those that don't know, I guess, but like, I was like, tell them, there's no landing zone, like they have to send an aircraft that's equipped with long line equipment, like you're going to have to hoist out of here. It's the only fucking way. There's nowhere that I can meet you guys down to or anything,
Yeah.
And so that whole night, like, going to sleep, I was just the pilot in me, I was thinking about like, oh, what kind of aircraft are they going to send? Just, like, trying to like kind of stay positive about it. It's like, oh, I've always wanted to fly in one of these. Maybe I'll get two or something. And wow. I actually slept pretty good that night, all things considered. And then in the morning, I woke up and I saw the sun had been up for like a little bit. It was probably like, I don't know what time it was, but it was probably like 7:30 or something maybe. And I'm like, oh shit, maybe they already like been looking for me. Did I miss them? Like, so I got to try and like flag them down or something. And so I waited and I waited and I waited, and like an hour probably went by, hour and a half maybe, and then I hear the blades flapping from the helicopter, and I was like, oh shit, it's a UH-1, it's a Huey. I was like, all right, cool. And so I get ready, and I'm listening for him and looking for him to fly by, and I knew that they would be flying up the river that was parallel to me. That was going to give them like their best kind of vantage point, and that's where they were coming from. And so I had my Tyvek, and I was just waving my Tyvek in like the smallest clearing that I could find, to like the only clearing really, to like try and signal them. Yeah. And they went by on the third pass is when they saw me and gave me the thumbs up that they saw me. And so then they circle around, check the area, and then the pilot enters into a hover, and they drop this rescue person down on the long line, and then the person unclips, and the helicopter takes off. And this girl is looking at me, she's like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, fucking good to see you, And she's like, yeah. You got yourself into quite a spot here. I was like, yep. And she's like, all right, well, I'm going to put this harness on you, and then I'm going to radio them to come back. They're going to come back. They're going to lower the cable. They're going to pull you up. They're going to put you into the aircraft. They're going to, put you in the seat, harness, whatever. And, then they're going to, drop the cord down. They're going to grab me, bring me up, and then we're going to take off out of here. I'm like, all right, cool. Sounds great. So get the harness on and everything. And they come back around. And guys lowering the cable, and I'm like looking up at this helicopter and the cable coming down at me. It's like this, lifeline for real.
Yeah, dude, I didn't even know that story. Yeah, like that's fucking intense.
And so the cable comes down, and she hooks me in, and give the thumbs up to the guy who's working the winch, and they pull me up, and we get up to the top and get in the aircraft, and I get strapped in, and this EMT guy, he's the one who's basically doing an initial debrief with me, and he's trying to set the headset so that I can talk and be on Vox with them. But he's kind of fumbling around with the switches, and I look up and I'm like, flip the switch, because I'm flying in those things for a while now.
It'd be funny if you were like correcting him, where you're like, no, your hovering degree actually needs to be like 20 degrees, and you're like,
oh, dude, those pilots,
yes,
those pilots were awesome, dude.
The whole time, very impressed. Chicken.
And at this point, like, I'd heard stories before where people had like gotten like airlifted out, and had lost their packs, all their gear and everything else that they had with them when they were out there. And I was like, fuck, dude, like I'm gonna lose so much money, like so much shit. Like, so I put all my layers on, all my clothes, stuffed every pocket that I had with like as much shit as I could. I was like, dude, if I'm getting hoisted out of here and losing my pack, I'm at least gonna keep as many things as I possibly can, like high ticket items and stuff, like my stove, headlamp, all around my neck, like all kinds of shit going on.
Put everything in the pack.
Like basically like my shelter and my sleeping bag and pad and stuff were all in my pack, but like most of the other stuff I had on my person. Where do you find those chicken peppers?
They're hard.
I know, I never see them anywhere.
Dude, that was so good.
Thank you.
Chicken pack.
It tastes, it's the shittiest chicken ever.
Yeah.
Tyson? It's like I don't know. Look, it's actually not.
So they get me like.
It's not as bad as you.
Or
No, I've had them.
they send the cable down to go after the girl, and she comes up and she's got my backpack with her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, like getting my backpack, super stoked because I anticipated, I was prepared to not have that again,
Yeah.
And so she comes up with my pack, and she gets in and we take off, and I'd overheard the conversation between the guy doing the winch and the pilots, and they had let out 162 feet of cable to get down to us.
Dude, that I can imagine it,
And
but only
there were
because of where we're
there were
sitting.
snags everywhere, and there was just the smallest of clearings that they were able to bring it into,
Crazy.
And that was the longest winch hoist that they had ever done, that crew. And that crew trains all the time with the military and stuff for search and rescue. The Snohomish County Sheriff's Department search and rescue helicopter
Do you have
something
to
or whatever.
know how to fly to be the person that jumps down?
No.
Cool, I could do that.
Yeah.
We could make like an action film, and I be that guy and you be that pilot.
Yeah, totally. So we fly back and we go to Everett, is where they're based out of actually. And on the flight back, the EMT guy, he looks at me and he's all, so are you a PCT hiker? I looked at him, I was like, yeah, and he's all, thought so. He's all, as soon as the information went out about the SOS and the hiker being lost in this area, Andrea Dinsmore got contacted and she was really worried that it was one of hers and blah, 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 blah. Which I didn't tell her this story this year about all of that. Like this, I think it just might be a little too emotionally overwhelming for her right
Too
now.
soon.
Or maybe she just knows it and she hasn't said anything, because some of the things that she has said to me, like, I kind of was like, does she know?
Say anything
Like-
to her. We spent weeks there this year.
Slipped my mind.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I was that guy.
When she said, like, bye to me, like, for the last time, like, there was a thing, like, the way she had said it and something that she had added on with it, and the look that she had given me was like with the be careful, kind of this stay on trail thing or something. I don't know. But, like, I think she knew.
Yeah. You fucking know. Trailman's insane.
Yeah. And then the guy, the EMT guy, one of the first things he actually said to me, he was like, just so you know, this whole thing is free. It's ran off of donations.
That's
and we're all volunteers.
Wow.
And I was like,
Oh,
sweet, thank
that's
you.
awesome.
Yeah. But we got to fly over some badass mountains and see some cool shit, like pretty low elevation, No.
No. But that's tight. What's the first meal you had after you got helicoptered out?
Oh, so after getting helicoptered out, here's where the story gets fun again too.
Nice.
I'm like now in Everett, which I'm like, oh, this is close to Seattle. I know a couple people from Seattle. So I call Sneaky Elf.
Oh, nice.
Sneaky Elf answers. She said that she's on her way home from Leavenworth. And
She would spend time in Lebanon. Now that I've been there.
It's totally her town.
well, she went there to like this farmhouse thing where they were having like this like drunken festival for something, or I don't know, somebody's ranch property. I don't know. But she was driving back with her roommate, so I actually met her roommate. But she's like, yeah, we're driving back. We're on that road that runs right by there. I'll see you in like 20 minutes.
Nice.
And so she comes over and starts so close. She's a little sneaky elf, man.
Fuck,
she
dude.
just shows up like 20 minutes later. Haven't seen her since Devil's Post Pile.
Wow.
And scoops me up
That's so
and
awesome.
brings me to Seattle. And
What'd you eat there?
I was, dude, she had like grapes and all kinds of shit in her car. I was just like eating in her car, like on the way to town. And then we got to her house and she had to go to her handbell choir
You live in the
rehearsal
same place?
thing. It was like a Sunday.
Yeah.
And so I just walked down this. I didn't know where anything was at, dude. I was so like,
Was it the same place?
same place, but like
Oh,
there's
cool.
a 7-Eleven that you can walk to from there.
Yeah.
And like I just went to that 7-Eleven and I got like one of those Reese's ice cream thing, like Red Hot Funyuns, a couple tall cans of Rainier, like
Yeah.
just a bunch of just hiker shit food, you know?
Trash, man. That's awesome. Fuck, man. I have never heard this story.
Craziness.
How
Yeah, dude.
have I not heard this story?
Yeah.
I love that
You
it
don't
was-
read my blog, that's why.
Dude, I know.
That's how I know that people who say they read my blog and don't know the story, like, that's how I know. Because
I
like
looked at
anybody
the
that would
photo.
read my blog would look at my, I have a menu page where it's like PCT 2014.
Yeah.
And in that is like my retelling, summarizing of 2014.
Yeah.
But half of it is basically this story with the link to. There's a rescue video actually.
Wow.
And,
I need
there's
to
a
go
link
check
on
it
that,
out. Perot, what kind of bread is that? Ciabatta? Fuck.
Hey,
Yeah.
check out the butterfly.
Hello.
That's the Hero style butterfly from when he started
Yep.
in the desert.
Sorry. Damn it.
What?
What? Oh.
Dude, butterflies love us, man.
Oh, he's on your hat.
Yeah.
Dude, I gotta take a photo.
Coming in hot.
Hold on, don't move. Just stop. For like, just be still as you possibly
Thank
can.
you for sharing. That's what the butterfly's saying.
Pup dog. Give it. Oh! Oh. Land on my finger.
Dude, butterflies love me, I swear, man. They like you too.
Yeah, butterflies are all over us. Sorry about the interruption. Butterflies
Oh yeah, I forgot we were podcasting.
took over really
He's on
real
a
quick.
butterfinger right now. He did land on our finger. My finger. He landed on my finger though.
Did he?
Your
My
butterfinger.
butterfinger.
Better not lay a
This finger's more butter than yours.
He literally was like, alright. He's like, alright. I got you, Papa. I got you.
So yeah, after like going through all of that, I was pretty much just done
He's visiting
with
you.
hiking for the year. I was like, oh, I don't need to be out here right now. It was cold. My gear wasn't right. I was out of funds. Like,
Yep.
all of that had just happened. Like,
So how does it feel to be at that point where you got off last year?
you know, because of the circumstances and because of how similar this area that we're in now, once we dropped into the trees last night
Yeah.
and coming through here, how similar all of that is to that area I was in.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of created a lot of like anxiety.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, kind of been
It's
like,
gonna feel good hiking out of that spot.
yeah, I really just,
Like right when you pass it.
like I'm gonna be stoked to be out of this area. I think
No, it's up here, half a
So you
mile.
said that was the trail.
the trail junction's like
Well,
half
that
a
was
mile
part
up.
of it, and then he went out that one and got. That's where he got.
That was the first one. I walked 20 yards out there, and there was a sign saying that trail was
Then you
abandoned
continued down
to
to
use
PCT.
this trail coming up in a half mile from where we're at now.
Where's
Yeah,
the
it's-
campsite that you were talking about? Did we pass that already?
Yeah. Wait, the one I was talking about yesterday?
Yeah, the last night.
Uh huh. It was that like. It was on the left-hand side, and the trail like kind of ran up to the right around it before paralleling.
That's pretty epic.
Yeah. So
Damn.
now you know.
Hero, when you
What
got
happened
off,
up
was there some crazy shit?
Am I getting off shore? You want that?
Come on.
It's a
up.
good one.
You want me to come down there?
Hold on, I'm kind of cooking right now.
Down there.
While I cook?
Yeah. Cool. Hey, 2 for 1. Wow. Yeah. Born a saint. Does anyone have a blue lighter? Oh, there it is right there. Thank you. I will find you and I will kill you.
I will find you.
Right.
Kill him!
All right.
Really loud. If that hurt anybody's ears, I apologize.
First, maybe we should talk about what you're cooking here.
I'm just I buttered up some ciabatta.
Yep. Let's see that. Let's see
And
what
I'm just toasting it.
it looks
Really.
great. Can't beat that. Oh.
Yeah. Little much.
All right. So we're at 2014
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
the
now.
PCT.
So I ended my hike a little bit before Shepherd, I believe. I guess I'll have to flash back to
Yeah.
Trail Days last year,
Oh, fun.
which was a week later than it was this year. It was like September 7th-ish
Ah.
that weekend. And so anyway, at Trail Days, the first night there, which was great. Early on, I'd only been there for like a half hour, and I see this dude, this, orange curly mop head of hair walking by, and I'm just like, I just grabbed him, turned around, and I was like, "You hiked the trail in 2010," referencing the Appalachian Trail, and sure enough, it was hand-me-down, and I had hiked with him in the south for a good little bit.
At Trail Days, you saw?
And I met him at Trail Days. So he ended up being with like his whole crew, like the, what is it, the Trail Rats, or, yeah, Trail Rats, Riff Raff, yeah, Riff Raff, yeah, Riff Raff.
Yeah.
Fucking
They've been
Raff.
mentioned. Yeah, yeah. They've been mentioned in this podcast.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they have.
From the
Yeah.
Lone Pine, because we
Right.
met a Occupy also.
Mhm.
Remember when the Riff Raff and Chillhard came together
Where?
and chilled in room 402?
402. Oh yeah, Bender,
And Occupy.
Occupy.
Yeah.
So I didn't see them last year, but Hand Me Down was with Handstand. Then there was Skriegel and Tink and Beeline and Billy Jack, and then some other people. But I caught up with most of them after Trail Days at Trout Lake, which is like a section away, like 4 or 5 days of hiking.
Yeah.
I ended up taking 2 zeros there
At Trail Lake.
at Trout Lake with them, and we just hung out,
Yeah.
drank. The general store opened up. They actually gave us a bunch of burgers and cheese and fresh vegetables and they were like, yeah, go into our backyard, because there was a house that like abutted.
Oh yeah, you're gonna zero.
There was roosters like walking around. It was just like,
Hiker Town.
yeah, it was hiker town. It was great. But anyway, we eventually,
being like an actual business as well.
yeah. I mean, it was a grand old time. Let's just say, put it at that, And Shep's like a day or two ahead of me, and I'm just like, I kind of had been winding down on hiking. I didn't have much time left anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So we all leave Trout Lake, and I left Hand Me Down, my power cord, and he had stayed in Trout Lake the night that I left, and he was going to just hike out in the morning. So I hiked out with like Tink, Skriegel, I camped with them, and there was someone else there too, I forgot who. But in the morning, Hand Me Down, I just like Skriegel and Tink, they had already left, I kind of was being slow, and I all of a sudden see Hand Me Down just tearing down the trail. I'm just like, I had finished packing, but I was like, I have to leave my pack, because he didn't see me. I like yelled his name. I was like, oh, I've been there, headphones. He just doesn't see me, because the camp was like down this slope, and you kind of, unless you look, you wouldn't see. And so I just go taking off, and it takes me like 1 or 2 switchbacks. I think I caught him on the second switchback, and he like saw me and just like stopped. And what ended up happening was he was pumping so hard down the trail. I mean, he was trucking, I mean, this is like an in shape, like 22-year-old, like just killing it, you know.
Captain Crunch, like
Yeah.
rocking solo, like crushing on.
Yeah, he can crush, and so I had to run to catch up to him.
Look, how did his dick taste?
It was really good.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was really good.
better than the butter ciabatta.
Well, I had it between ciabattas.
Okay.
But what ended up happening was he had like just gotten into something with Handstand, who he had been hiking with for what I can tell a long period of time. Like she had gotten off trail,
Yeah.
so he was just like, upset, and just crushing it, like. And
She ended up
I ended
finishing,
up-
actually.
yeah, I know. There's more to that, but
Right.
at the time, that's what it was.
Right.
And so I ended up being the person there, like, we just hugged it out. Like, he needed a hug. Like, he was just upset. He was crushed. And he's like, dude, like, catch up. Because I had to go back and get my pack. And I was like, yeah, for sure. Like, we're going to hang out. And it was just funny. I'd already been feeling like, the trip was winding down, but I still had, like, a week and a half time. But as I was getting back to my pack, like, I flashed back to my Appalachian through hike.
Mm-hmm.
And the girl that I had hiked with for like 5 months from the beginning, who I'd met on trail, we both got sick, and one morning she was just like, she just went home,
Damn.
And it was just like I had to ask her for a phone number, world's longest first date.
Weird, yeah.
Like I got the digits out, thankfully. But and that night that she left, the two people I had hiked with the most besides her, they came into the hostel that night, and I just remember like hugging them.
What
then.
hostel?
It was in like Monson or something.
Okay.
The White Horse, maybe.
Yeah.
Or it was the one next to the White Horse.
Yeah.
We stayed in the White Horse, and then I went to the hostel the next night.
Yeah.
But like just like what that like just seeing them, like it just felt, it was uplifting. Like because we lost contact. I didn't have a cell phone. Like I didn't know where they were, ahead of me, behind me, and so that was just huge. And it just the fact that it was kind of like a full circle thing, like the same thing was going on, but I was like on the other end of it. And so that like I was just reflecting on that fairly strongly, and I picked up my pack, started walking, and Mount Adams came into view like for the first time, and for some reason I then flashed to my first game of my senior year in college for lacrosse. We were down like 12-9 with like 2 minutes left. Like they got a penalty. Like he put me on attack, which I never play attack, but just because we were a man up, so we doubled the goalie. Ended up scoring, then taking the next face off. I always, most of the time, did wing. I would alternate with this one other guy, but so we end up basically, like long story short, I just get stuck on the field. We score another goal, and then they get the ball, and I just somehow ended up always being the one on near closest. So other teammates are subbing off, but I just can't because I was constantly involved in the play. I got to the point, I literally, at one point the ball made it close enough where it was like 10 to 15 feet away from like the box, and I just quickly like jetted over. And so much so that my teammate didn't even see me. And I was yelling behind him, like just yelling. But there's so much going on, and I had nothing left. And that feeling, I remember like after, I never had given so much for like I was so drained. Like there's nothing left. The feeling of just utter depletion. And it just hit me like a fucking ton of bricks right then, like on the trail, like Mount Adams. Like just thinking about it now even makes me feel it.
Damn.
Like it's just knowing that, like the complete emptiness. And I was just like, I think I'm pretty much done hiking. Like I think that's what this is. And I was like, I'm just gonna take a 0.
Yeah.
So I ended up taking a 0 in the woods. I hiked like another 1.5 miles to like this little janky ass lake that has a sweet view of Mount Adams.
Yeah.
I fasted because I didn't have a lot of food. Then the next day it poured, and the next morning when I woke up, I knew for sure I was like, I'm done. Like, and it was great. Like I felt really good.
Yeah, you were
And just I think it was like a cathartic thing. Like that whole experience was very cathartic, just for those past experiences that just seemed to come up, And the next day it just poured, so I think I hiked like 20 miles or something, 25, to get to basically right before Cispus Pass, and then I camped there.
Okay.
And I chilled there, and then I basically hiked to the camp spot that we stayed at this year. The very next day.
That ridge?
Yeah, just that little ridge. I didn't stay at Cispus Pass, but I went up over Cispus.
Oh, okay.
Like basically, that mountain that we were climbing, the spire between Cispus Pass, and I was like, oh, there's this other arm right here.
Uh-huh.
That's where I
break
camped.
was.
Yeah.
Damn.
Basically the direction of Mount Adams if you were looking at it visually. But so then I just hiked the next day, like, what is that? 2 miles? Then I zeroed again, fasted again, ate some ramen, like, to break my fast at like 5 o'clock, like, that night. So I didn't eat from like, 8 to 5:30 the next day. That didn't last long. That went right through me. Like, cooked ramen, I just didn't cook it. It was just like... So then I chill there. Then the next morning I wake up, a guy comes by with an apple and a tomato.
Wow.
And that was amazing.
That's huge.
It was so huge. And then I basically just hiked out, like, the Goat Rocks.
Where?
So from that camp spot
Oh.
that we camped at.
I didn't even know there was a way out.
No.
No,
I
all
hiked
the
the
way to
PCT
White
to
Pass.
White Pass.
To
Sorry.
White Pass.
Yeah.
Okay. I see.
So the next day, I woke up, like, with the tomato and apple, they gave me that
What's
day.
that, 12 miles or something?
I don't know. What? I think it's more than that.
Yeah, it's more than that.
Like 20 maybe.
Oh, wow.
So I did like 7 miles by, I think, 7 o'clock. I didn't start hiking till like noon. I had found this really chill spot. I didn't even see it this year, but it was this little alcove that had this center tree that just provided this canopy, and then there's bushes like all around. It was this nice.
Wow.
I don't know. I didn't see it this year.
It was pretty, like, smoky as we were like, the day
I
after
think it was
the
lower
next range.
off on the left, and we just walked by
Yeah.
it. But I, chilled there till 2 or like noon. Then I started hiking at like around 2 o'clock. That's when I met Buddy Backpacker. It's my very last day on trail, essentially. I'd been waiting to meet Buddy Backpacker.
Yeah, we've been-
because I just
we've been
have been
talking
having so
about
much
him and
fun
stuff for so
with
long.
his topic, It's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
Buddy Slackpacker, like Buddy Dayhiker. I'm gonna get in his face. I'm gonna get in this 5-year-old's face. What's up, Buddy Dayhiker?
Yeah.
And I didn't. I reserved myself, but
Yeah.
no, it was just cool meeting them, meeting his mom and her boyfriend. And then around like 7 o'clock, I still had like 13 miles left, and I drank the last of my water. All I had was a cooked meal, one cooked meal left, and so I had no water. And I just fucking hiked it. I was just like, yeah. There was a sign for water like 120 yards down. I was like, nah,
Nope.
let's just do it.
Yeah.
I knew I was done, and I just been in that mode of just
Oh, you can
depletion,
you can push it if you know
fasting,
it's your
and
last
just,
day. Yeah, for sure.
And I ended up getting into White Pass around 11:30, walked to the gas station. It was closed. Walked to the lodge. There was no one there. When I eventually found the office at the backside, I ended up camping in this spot that was behind these trees from the lodge. Well, I didn't realize there was a house like right there. It wasn't in her front yard. It was in like the front yard, like in that kind of brushy area to the side, like. And then I wake up in the middle of the night. It's raining. So I had to I was just cowboy camping because you don't set up your tent there. I get out my tent, use it as a bivvy. It's sweaty, so I put it down when the rain stopped. And I end up having to do that every half hour when it was like drizzling on and off. I wake up in the morning just drained. And right as I'm waking up, like I had just been awake for like 30 seconds, just kind of like coming to the world.
Yeah.
All I hear is this guy, here, oh. And as he's going by on a bicycle, he's got a maroon, like thick striped maroon and yellow, mustard yellow shirt. And you just hear his reaction as he registers my presence there. And he had been just exiting the house that I was sleeping basically in front of. And he paused for like a second or two, and then was like, don't worry, like it's gonna clear up later, like you'll dry out. Like he was totally chill with it. I end up waking up because or getting up and going down to the gas station because it's after 8 now, so it's open. He's down in there. The lady's in there, and she just gives me this tall, like 24-ounce cup of homemade chicken noodle soup.
I heard you.
So satisfying. Yeah. It was amazing. And I end up talking to that guy, and he's like, oh. He's like, I don't care. He's like, this is all ski property. He's like, I just work here.
Nice.
So that's cool. I'm like, all right. I was like, I just told him what I had been doing. He's like, yeah, I would have just crashed as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I got a hitch. Then I stayed a night in the lodge the very next day. I shared it with some couple. Next day I got a hitch out. And right as they opened the back door, this huge giant dog. I had only been waiting for like 5 minutes, and this van, kind of VW old school van pulls up. This huge dog just viciously comes at me. But they're like, don't worry about him. They just like pull him out. They're like, once you're in there, he'll love you. I'm like, I believe you. So I just went right in. Yeah. It was like perfect. The dog,
nice.
He was perfectly at home, And they end up taking me to their home because they were just talking about it so much. They're like, you know what, why don't we just bring you there and then we'll drop you off at this gas station down a little ways further. I'm like, okay. Because they're only going to get me part of the way to Seattle. They end up, they're living in a school bus, but it's modified to a tiny home.
Yeah.
And it has like these ornate, like medicine man, like old Western looking, like, rooftop curvature. And
rusty.
Oh, it's just so cool. Like they had cut out the top and bumped it up. There's a little greenhouse.
Wow.
He made necklaces, just wire work. And you could see his earlier work, like what he still has now, or what he's doing now. And it's like he's getting better.
Nice.
They had both worked at REI, quit the jobs because they were like, we're going to get laid off. Because REI had been laying people off. And like, no, your department's fine. 8-9 months after they both quit, their department got laid off.
Yeah.
So they're like, yep, we made the right move. And they were going to be building a cob hut on the property. They had taken a workshop. So they showed me the plans and like took me up to the spot. I mean, it was very chill and like things I had been thinking about, internally, about things that I want to do. And it was just very cool to see people that are a little bit further, in that direction.
Yeah.
And then to just round out the story, they dropped me off at a gas station. I buy 2 shark tooth necklaces from him, like Mako shark or something crazy, I don't know, old.
You started with one of them, right?
Yeah.
You sent one to your brother and then one for you?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And, where was I? Oh, yeah. So they dropped me off at the gas station. I get something to eat real quick, something to drink, then I go out and hitch. And I didn't even wait like 5-10 minutes. And this dude in a pickup truck pulls up. And I'm like, and he's like, I've never picked up anyone before. I'm like, all right, well, I'm trying to get to Seattle. He's like, yeah, I can get you there. I mean, like, I think I can get you pretty close. I'm like, okay. He's like, probably not the whole way, but most of the way. I'm like, cool. And eventually when I get in the truck, he's like, yeah. He's like, I never pick anyone up, but, well, you just didn't look like you belonged here. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I felt okay picking you up, and I figured you'd want to get picked up. I'm like, why? He's like, well, you didn't look like a tweaker. And, as like, a hiker, you look pretty trashy a good portion of the time. And there was suddenly, like, just came to me, I never knew I would be prideful of this, but I just, like, a pride to, like, really? You mean it? I don't look like a tweaker? Like, thanks. Like that they can tell that. Like, that makes me happy, I guess. And he ends up driving to his daughter's house. She has no idea that I'm in the car. Pulls up. He's picking up his 4 or 5-year-old granddaughter, who turns out to be, like, the most intelligent 4 or 5-year-old I've ever talked to.
Yeah.
But his daughter, like, looks like I, help her, like, him unload something into her house, and she's like, okay, yeah, I guess you can my daughter can go with you. Like, she's like, I trust Grandpa. It was kind of cool just that she's like, yeah, my child can go with you, sure. And the little girl was a sweetheart. Just talk so much the whole way there. And he ends up dropping me off at a hotel near the airport. in Seattle. And that night, this dude bangs on my door. I'm like, I go answer it. So just some homeless guy. And, he asked for something. I can't hear him. He's actually partially deaf, can't really speak all that well. I entertain him. I eventually understand he wants to come in and watch TV. I'm like, whatever. Like, I honestly don't care. Which probably wasn't my best decisions ever, but I'm like, all right. He ends up having a friend who can speak more clearly, so I didn't even mind having him there. I'm like, fine. Like, these guys, I might be able to take them, but this would be a bad situation.
Yeah.
And so they're chilling in there. Like, it's, and eventually I was just like, all right, like, I'll give you guys each $5, like, but you gotta leave now. Like, we were like hanging out for like a half hour. I think maybe we smoked. And I was like, yeah, I'm helping you guys out. Like, I gave him each $5, and I fucking regret it because at like 1 a.m, the dude's banging on my door, and I'm just like, to the point where I actually opened it up and like was like, leave, dude, like leave, like don't come banging on my door at like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And he came banging on my door at like 5:30, and I just didn't even they were harmless. They were just, you just don't know,
Jesus.
So that was cool. But then I lined up for the next day, Beaker and Lady Luck. But Beaker was going to work at a winery. So he's like, you want to come? I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I went and I worked at a winery for a day. We forked grapes and we shucked the little jacks, whatever you want to call it, like on this vibrating table. And like as you were looking at this for like an hours, and when you looked up, your like whole vision and body was just like, your perception was shaking, and it was nuts. And I got to stomp grapes,
Nice.
just like that freaking lady the news lady who fell.
Yeah.
All right, stop. I can't breathe. My foot actually went through one of the bag liners that I was in, and I'm like, I'm sorry. You just had like a through-hiker foot in your grapes.
Yeah.
Just for like a couple of stomps. And that was probably, we got a couple bottles of wine and went out to dinner with Jared and Lady Luck, and they dropped me off at the airport the next day and went home.
Damn.
And that's how I got off. And I went home like a week early, ended up being,
Yeah.
And that week ended up I wasn't even at home for 24 hours. It was like 18 hours, and I was already in a car driving with my parents down to the Outer Banks in North Carolina. My brother had gotten a house, like an off-season house, and it was this gorgeous house I probably will never be able to afford myself, and right on the beach. And I chilled there for a week, and then had to go to a wedding in Brooklyn, and so it was like a quasi-decompression.
Nice. It's a good
King-size
transition.
bed in this room that was like, pure white and light blues, and just like right on the beach. Like I was like, what? Like I freaked out.
Yeah.
There was a bathroom like chamber, like stone, like entire. You could have harems in there. Like it was. I thought about it. I think
For sure.
it worked. So yeah, that's my story.
Fuck, man. That's intense.
Mm-hmm. A lot of
Good
detail.
stories today.
Yeah.
All right. That's it.
And then I went home and hugged my parents.
Yeah.
Hello, mother. Hello, father. I missed you. I love you.
5 months later, we're back on the PCT doing it.
And then I was like, I got to go again. Off to Guatemala.
Yeah. All right. Tales from 2014.
Yeah.
Over and out. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye now.
Bye.
Love you.